you don't get warm weather until 1 week in the middle of July. That's about it. We're just loving it. This has been, like the nicest spring of my life. It's just awesome out there. We have been isolated, not able to meet with people. But fortunate for us, we had a lot of kids. So we have been having fun times as a family. Got a slip and slide. We built a little fire pit. So we're making fires and doing s'mores and all of that stuff. And we've been having good family time lately. And it's been, it's been good in the busyness of a move and everything to on purpose be able to spend extra family time. And so we've enjoyed that. One of my favorite things in the entire world is when my little kids want to talk about the Bible. And that's been something we've been doing. For me, family devotions has become kind of story time. And it's been really neat. Lately, we've been doing our Bible time as a family at the fire sometimes, sitting outside and just before bedtime for the kids, and they want to hear a Bible story. And so I started in Genesis 1, and we're just going through the stories, and we've gone through, from Genesis to Revelation one time so far, and that's been mostly with Carson over the course of last year. And, you're getting the high points. You're not getting every chapter, every verse. You're getting, here's the creation story. Next is the next story. You just go in story after story. And we've started over, and right now we're in the book of Judges. And so I'm telling them about the book of Judges. But it is so funny. Elliot, he's 4. He's receiving all of this information for the first time, and it's just funny the way he's processing it is as if it's real time. It's like he doesn't understand that it's history, that it's ancient. And so this sounds like breaking news to him. Like this is happening in the world somewhere, just not here. And Sonia will be tending to the baby, and he'll just be like, so enthralled with these stories, and he'll just mom, and then he'll look over and Dad, tell her what happened, tell her. And it's incredible. It's really fun to do the story time with the kids. Well, good to see everybody. I am trying a different way, and I think I like this better. Here in the auditorium, I got my phone out, and then I'm able to monitor you guys here on the computer. So I can interact with your comments and everything. So good morning, Janice, Kathy, Joy, Gerald Lee, Nancy. Good to see all of you over there on Facebook and on the church page. Good to see Pam and Lindell and Kevin. And looks like we've got about 7 people. So on the church page and 7 on the Facebook page. Hey, we're nice and even. So good morning, Renee. It's good to see you. Thank you for your prayers. And oh, you're asking for prayers. Pray for Mom and Greg and the kids. Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who haven't had a chance yet, I sent an email to the church at least with a form to fill out with prayer requests. I've been working on that even this morning to get the prayer list updated and send that out to the church as soon as possible. So if you would fill out that form, that would just help me organize all of these requests and keep them up to date. So anyway, and I'm noticing, Renee, you're saying your mom is in the hospital. Okay. Maybe we should talk today. I should be more available than Renee was trying to call me the other day and we were not available. But Renee, I should be more available today if you want to call. And I would like to know a little bit more so I can know how to pray for her better. But all right. Well, today we're in Job chapters 25 through 28. And I'm going to write that in over here on Facebook. Job 25 through 28. There you go. Good morning, Regina. Glad to see you. All right. So let's read. And we'll comment as we go. Job chapter 25, we get Bildad and Zophar today. Short chapter, chapter 25. Then answered Bildad the Shuhite and said, Dominion and fear are with him. He maketh peace in high places. Is there any number of his armies? And upon whom doth not his light arise? How then can man be justified with God? Or how can he be clean that is born of a woman? Behold, even to the moon, and it shineth not. Yea, the stars are not pure in his sight. How much less man that is a worm, and the son of man, which is a worm. All right, so nothing Bildad said that I read was technically wrong. We're back at that old saying the truth, but not saying the truth in wisdom. So it wasn't untruthful. It just was improperly applied. And so Bildad, though, you notice that was 6 verses, and then Job jumps in. Bildad is running out of things to say, which is great. We're tired of hearing from you, Bildad. But he still is emotionally invested. So he responds with a short response, and he's asking questions now. And I don't know. The thing with this is, like, I don't know what sort of, demeanor he has, but I imagine, I don't know that this is the way it was, but I imagine with such a short answer and it being so many questions. I'm reading 3 questions in 6 verses. No, 4 questions in 6 verses. 6 questions in 6 verses. He is questioning Job. It's an interrogation, but I think that Bildad might be back, sort of back where he started. 7 days of silence, just sitting there with Job. And they're all just sort of brooding, coming up with their ideas, and then they spill their guts to Job and hurt him with their words. And it seems like the last things we hear from Bildad, it's not as wordy, it's not as confident, and maybe he's kind of not so sure anymore. But I don't know. He's still not being helpful. And it's kind of like, it seems to me like his last leg that he's trying to stand on. And he's saying, well, man is just not just. There's not one person born of a woman who's righteous. And so stop acting like you're so good. This doesn't answer the ultimate question of why Job and not anybody else. But at least he's trying to break Job down to make sure Job doesn't feel like he's righteous. So... You're not so good, Job. Chapter 26, But Job answered and said, How hast thou helped him that is without power? How savest thou the arm that hath no strength? How hast thou counseled him that hath no wisdom? And how hast thou plentifully declared the thing as it is? To whom hast thou uttered words, and whose spirit came from thee? Dead things are formed from under the waters, and the inhabitants thereof. Hell is naked before him, and destruction hath no covering. He stretched out the north over the empty place, and hangeth the earth upon nothing. He bindeth up the waters in his thick clouds, and the cloud is not rent under them. He holdeth back the face of his throne, and spreadeth his cloud upon it. He hath compassed the waters with bounds, until the day and night come to an end. The pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his reproof. He divideth the sea with his power, and by his understanding he smiteth through the proud. By his spirit he hath garnished the heavens. His hand hath formed the crooked serpent. Lo, these are parts of his ways, but how little a portion is heard of him. But the thunder of his power, who can understand? So Job's response is, remember, like all through the book of Job so far, there's been this underlying argument between Job and his friends. Like, you've got this whole questioning, why is it happening? Job, you're bad. Job is saying, I'm not that bad. And there's that primary storyline, but there's also like a subplot going on where they keep on trying to defend their intellect and wisdom. Job as well. Everybody, all 4 of them are entering into the primary narrative. And then there's the subplot, which is, well, Job, you know that I'm wise. Zophar. Bildad. Well, Job, I am wise. Listen to me. And Eliphaz and all these guys. And then Job is, well, I'm just as wise as you are, and everybody's trying to like prove that they are wise or more wise than the other or just as wise as the other because of the nature of the day or of the circumstances. So Job now is everybody actually so far as everybody's arguments progress, they're also learning through it all. And I think they're all coming to a glimpse of the vastness of God's wisdom and the smallness of man's. And even Bildad seems to have been a little less confident, a little less wordy, and his point was a little less strong. It was basically, well, everybody's a sinner. And then Job's response is less of, I'm wise, so stop telling me and acting like I'm not. And more, man, God is way bigger than we are. So basically telling Bildad, stop being so confident in anything. So everybody's kind of coming to the end of themselves. Even the poor counselors, no, they're not getting a breakthrough. Job isn't getting better. Nobody's convincing anybody of anything. So all of this talk and everybody's just kind of coming up empty by the end of it and realizing, man, God is way bigger than we are. And so that's kind of what I see in chapter 26. 27, and Job continues. Chapter 27. Moreover, Job continued his parable and said, as God liveth, who hath taken away my judgment, and the Almighty, who hath vexed my soul, all the while my breath is in me, and the Spirit of God is in my nostrils. My lips shall not speak wickedness, nor my tongue utter deceit. Wow. Job is still holding on to this, though God slay me, still I will trust in him, basically. I am not going to speak wickedness, I will not utter deceit. Verse 5, God forbid that I should justify you. Till I die, I will not remove mine integrity from me. Wow, great statements. My righteousness I hold fast, and will not let it go. My heart shall not reproach me so long as I live. Let mine enemy be as the wicked, and he that riseth up against me as the unrighteous. For what is the hope of the hypocrite, though he hath gained, when God taketh away his soul? Will God hear his cry when trouble cometh upon him? Will he delight himself in the Almighty? Will he always call upon God? I will teach you by the hand of God. That which is with the Almighty will I not conceal. Behold, all ye yourselves have seen it. Why then are ye thus altogether vain? This is the portion of a wicked man with God, and the heritage of oppressors which they shall receive of the Almighty. If his children be multiplied, it is for the sword, and his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread. Those that remain of him shall be buried in death, and his widows shall not weep. Though he heap up silver as the dust, and prepare raiment as the clay. He may prepare it, but the just shall put it on, and the innocent shall divide the silver. He buildeth his house as a moth, and as a booth that the keeper maketh. The rich man shall lie down, but he shall not be gathered. He openeth his eyes, and he is not. Terrors take hold on him as waters. A tempest stealeth him away in the night. The east wind carrieth him away, and he departeth, as a storm hurleth him out of his place. For God shall cast upon him and not spare. He would fain flee out of his hand. Men shall clap their hands at him, and shall hiss him out of his place. Let's move on to chapter 28, because Job just continues. So let's just continue as well. Check over here real quick. Okay. Surely there is a vein for the silver, and a place for gold where they find it. Iron is taken out of the earth, and brass is molten out of the stone. He setteth an end to darkness, and searcheth out all perfection, the stones of darkness and the shadow of death. The flood breaketh out from the inhabitant, even the waters forgotten of the foot. They are dried up, they are gone away from men. As for the earth, out of it cometh bread, and under it is turned up as it were fire. The stones of it are the place of sapphires, and it hath dust of gold. There is a path which no fowl knoweth, and which the vulture's eye hath not seen. The lion's whelps have not trodden it, nor the fierce lion passed by it. He putteth forth his hand upon the rock, he overturneth the mountains by the roots. He cutteth out rivers among the rocks, and his eye seeth every precious thing. He bindeth the floods from overflowing, and the thing that is hid bringeth he forth to light. But where shall wisdom be found? And where is the place of understanding? Man knoweth not the price thereof, neither is it found in the land of the living. The depth saith, Is it not in me? And the sea saith, Is it not with me? It cannot be gotten for gold, neither shall silver be weighed for the price thereof. It cannot be valued with the gold of Ophir, with the precious onyx or the sapphire. The gold and the crystal cannot equal it, and the exchange of it shall not be for jewels or of fine gold. No mention shall be made of coral or of pearls, for the price of wisdom is above rubies. Hey, that's a cool statement. That sounds very proverb-like. And actually, Job is doing a proverb. Sorry, not a proverb, a parable. Verse 19, the topaz of Ethiopia shall not equal it, neither shall it be valued with pure gold. Whence then cometh wisdom? And where is the place of understanding? Seeing it is hid from the eyes of all living, and kept close from the fowls of the air. Destruction and death say, We have heard the fame thereof with our ears. God understandeth the way thereof, and he knoweth the place thereof. For he looketh to the ends of the earth, and seeth under the whole heaven, to make the weight for the winds, and he weigheth the waters by measure. When he made a decree for the rain, and a way for the lightning of the thunder, then did he see it, and declare it. He prepared it, yea, and searched it out. And unto man he said, Behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. That was such an intriguing chapter, wasn't it? I really liked that, chapter 28. So Job goes all into a metaphor, I guess, an analogy. I always get those mixed up, of mining and precious stones, basically, and metals. And so he brought up some interesting things, just not spiritually related, just how early this history is. I mean, this is so ancient. And Job had a pretty good understanding of mining, of all of these things. Even brought up coral, which made me think. I went to Taiwan, was it 2 years ago? Something like that. And they do art using coral, and it is phenomenal. They're basically sculpting it, where they take chunks of coral and they carve it into these sculptures, then they polish it, and then it gets this beautiful shine. And it's just really incredible, and it's incredibly expensive, but just gorgeous stuff. And all that Job is talking about early on in chapter 28, he brings up the fact that there are ways to figure out where to find gold. There's ways to figure out how to mine these precious stones. If you just apply yourself to understanding it, you can figure it out. I grew up watching a lot of Westerns with my grandpa, and he had, real guns. He'd give us real guns. This wouldn't pass in today's day, but when I was young, he would hand my brother and I 6-shooters, we called them, cowboy guns, pistols. And of course they were empty, but he'd put on a John Wayne, or he'd put on some old cowboy movie, Roy Rogers or something, and we loved them. And we always had our guns ready, and we'd shoot at the bad guys. We'd click the guns, and shoot the bad guys. And sometimes they were like the toy guns from Walmart, but I mean, he would literally hand us his real guns, and we would shoot at the TV. Oh, that's just hitting me as that was not very smart, but we loved it. It was fun. We'd have our Otter Pop and a gun, watching Westerns. But a lot of them would, re-articulate the history of the California gold rush, and panning for gold and all these miners and how wild the West was and all of that. And I learned all that I know about mining comes from those movies. But Job was instructing us a little bit. If you find a vein, you can chase that vein and find the massive pocket of gold, right? And that's when you hit the mother lode. You can get a little bit from those veins, but The real trick is being wise enough to follow the vein the right direction and then find the mother lode, right? And Job is saying, I mean, it's hard to figure that out. Not just everybody finds a mother lode, but with enough work and enough diligence and enough intellect, you can figure out how to find gold. But he is at a loss of how to find God. Job, this whole time, is desperate to find God. He needs God. He wants God. He needs to connect with the Lord. He needs to know things. He wants answers. He wants relief. And I can find coral. I can find sapphire. I can find jewels and rubies and gold and silver. I could find all of that if I really applied myself. But I have been searching for God, and I have not found even the vein that would lead to him. He said, God knows paths that nobody knows. God has understanding that he's been down, he's using another analogy. He's been down paths that no bird has flown through, or no lion has trod. Even like creatures that go places that man never can go. They haven't even been down everything that God has been down. Talking about the omniscience and the omnipresence of God. And he's a bit frustrated, but he's also elevating God by saying, it's hard enough to find gold, but man, if you ever find wisdom, you have found the most valuable thing. I got up early this morning and I've been in prayer, and really it mostly boils down to that. When I'm praying for myself and for my church, for my family, and for my friends, I pray specifically for health things or specific spiritual needs or physical needs or whatever. But just about every time it comes down to, give us wisdom, Lord. We need your wisdom. And when I was in Everett, my pastor, Eric Sanders, he used to say just 3 words. And it was a quick prayer, and I would encourage you to adopt it as you've read Job today. Your wisdom, Lord. And he would just pray that. It wasn't, it was kind of like a casual text rather than a formal, business letter. It wasn't, dear Lord, thank you for this day, and a big eloquent with a initial at the end, in Jesus' name, amen. It was just, your wisdom, Lord. Wisdom, Lord. That's the principal thing, church. And we do well to apply ourselves to finding it. And you're going to be unsuccessful. Like, you can't find it, actually, unless you go to God. If any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of God. So don't be a wisdom prospector. You'll never find the pocket. You'll never even find a vein of that resource. Go to the great prospector God, the one who has all of the riches of wisdom. Go to him for wisdom, and he will give to you liberally. And he won't upbraid you. He won't cast it in your teeth. He won't make you feel like a novice, a baby. He won't make you eat your words. He's patient, and he's gentle, and he's kind. So go to God for wisdom. I'm going to read some of your comments real quick, and then we'll pray and go. Kevin says, Job loved God. Things may have been different if his friends built on that love and built up his good qualities to support him. Isn't that interesting? Honestly, this story, many things were concrete, that like they wouldn't have changed. The way the story works is God, Satan, and the consequences that Satan or the actions of Satan in Job's life. Those 3 elements are immovable. And apparently Job's integrity was immovable. Like that, those were the bones of the story. They happened and could not be changed. God is always God. Satan, you can trust him to always be Satan and do what Satan does. And then the actions of Satan were permanent. He kills people, he burns houses, he, those things. And then there was also Job's integrity that was immovable, and God declared that prior to anything ever happening. So God knew how strong that was. But there were some variables in the story that could have been different. And that would be Job's wife, Job's friends, and then Job himself. He could have, though he did really well, he could have done better, I suppose. Maybe. But yeah, great question, Kevin. What would it have been like had Job's friends been more wise, been more loving, been more Christ-like? This story could have been more successful. Because it's a successful story, but it's not completely successful. Definitely we see humanity here in Job and Job's friends. But what would it have been like if Job's friends would have been truly loving and built him up? And, Bible says weep with those who weep. And I think of, maybe it's a proverb. I can't remember. Maybe it's in Ecclesiastes. I can't remember exactly. Talks about how appropriateness is necessary. And when somebody's mourning, it's not the right time to sing a happy song, right? And these guys were missing the mark on the appropriateness. This wasn't the time for them to do what they were doing at all. This was a time to weep with those who weep, to sit there and be there with him. And so, anyways, great comment, Kevin. Over on Facebook, let's see if we've got any comments, any takeaways today. It doesn't look like it. So, let's call it a day. And just a reminder to you guys that are watching that tonight, we've moved our midweek service from Wednesday to Tuesday. So tonight at 7 p.m., we have our Zoom prayer meeting. So I will be sending an email with the link and everything that you need to know. So tonight is our Zoom prayer meeting, and that will be consistent through phase 1, and then we'll announce, the schedule through phase 2, which, I'll try to keep the phases as similar to each other as possible, but they will always adjust based on what we're able to do, dictated by the state. So anyway, just so you know, tonight, 7 p.m., be ready, and that's on Zoom, not on our live stream page. So I will see you then. Look out for that email to have all the information for you.